Hey, what's up, you guys? Ethan here with a new video. 2022 had a lot of good movies, a few bad movies as well. But we have a few to go through, so I don't want to wait too long on any of these. So we're going to just get right into it with number 10. The Batman was directed by Matt Reeves, who did Cloverfield and War and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And it is written by also Matt Reeves and Peter Craig. The premise follows Batman 2 years into the job. He's still learning what kind of person he wants to be, and he seems to me his match when an enigmatic figure known as the Riddler starts causing issues in Gotham. So with this movie, things I liked about it, the cast. Pattinson is great as Batman. I don't have any complaints. He's brooding. He has no empathy when he's beating his way through people to get to the Riddler. Paul Dano, I think, is the perfect Riddler, at least in this kind of universe they're building where it's more gritty and dark, whereas Jim Carrey's wasn't as grounded. But he plays him really well, and I think any person who enjoys Dano's work will enjoy this. Zoe Kravitz is great. Jeffrey Wright is a pretty good Gordon. John Turturro is pretty fun to watch, and Colin Farrell steals every scene as the Penguin. Cinematography in this movie, it looks as gritty and brooding as Batman, which makes it feel very well used and in sync with the character. The way they shoot the film makes Gotham feel like this grimy cityscape towering over everyone as the rain's constantly pouring over them. This adds to that feeling of darkness and isolation. I like the theme of vengeance in the movie. I think it's well used by the relatively new Batman, as it shows his mindset and his early goals with the role he's taken on. Lastly, I think the action is really good in this movie. The fights feel like every punch has actual weight behind them, and they're not cut to hell like other films, which is appreciated. There's also an amazing chase scene towards the midpoint of the movie that's really fun to watch, and it's also featured in the trailer, so if you haven't seen the movie, you might have an idea of what I'm talking about. The only dislike I have is the runtime is a little on the long side. As much as I love this movie and version of Batman, it is a little long. It's not dreadful to get through, but it definitely makes it less likely for me to choose to rewatch it just on a random whim, just because there's kind of a time commitment. So yeah, it's just shy of 3 hours. I'll watch it. It's just one of those things where it's not going to be as much of something to put on as like a 90-minute movie. Number 9, Prey, which is directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who also did 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's written by Patrick Azan. So the premise for this movie is different from the previous Predator films. It's set in the early 18th century. A young Comanche woman who wants nothing more than to be a hunter crosses paths with an earlier version of the Predator, and she has to fight to protect her tribe and to prove herself as a hunter. Things I liked, cast. The cast gives really solid performances throughout, with a lot of props to the lead actress Amber Midthunder, who carries much of the movie as the only person on screen. Action, the fights and weapons, which aren't as evolved as the past Predators, to even the playing field with the weapons of the Comanche tribe. So using bows, hatchets instead of guns and bombs allows for more creative and new ways of fighting the Predator. The idea of taking something like the Predator and kind of turning it into an anthology where we just watch it get dropped into this random like period and just see how it handles things with the different weapons, different people and cultures. And so I think it'd be it opens up the Predator world to almost an unlimited amount of possibilities. So number 8 is Barbarian. It's directed by Zach Kreger. It's his first film. He also wrote it, and you may know him from WKUK, Wise Kids You Know. This is not sketch comedy. Actually, the premise is a woman arrives at her Airbnb but finds that someone's already there, and it seems as though the place has been booked by both of them on accident. But the movie quickly takes multiple dark turns as pretty much a nightmare just begins to unfold. And things I liked about it, cinematography. The camera lingers on a lot of shots and makes you kind of search the frame for something. There's also several shots and a few interesting transitions that really engage you. Other things I liked, the cast. Justin Long is fun to hate. Bill Skarsgård is the perfect actor for this movie. Knowing him as Pennywise makes you immediately feel like you can't trust him and you're just waiting for something to happen. And Georgina Campbell makes a really good protagonist to root for in the film. She plays a very smart and strong character. And lastly, the reveal. I can't really say anything without spoiling, but there's a moment near the midpoint of the film that had my jaw dropped. Cryptic marketing and avoiding leaks really helps this movie and made it one of the best scenes in horror this past year. Only thing I disliked was the ending a little bit. As much as I enjoyed the movie, some of the final scenes toe the line of exciting and ridiculous. If you have seen it, you might know what I'm referring to, and you either liked the moment or you thought it was a little stupid. And number 7, we have Scream, 5th one in the series. It is directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette. They're members of the filmmaking trio Radio Silence. Radio Silence is known for Ready or Not, a movie that's very much inspired by Wes Craven. And it's written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, both who worked on Ready or Not with Radio Silence. The premise, so 25 years after the original Ghostface murders, a high school student is attacked by the masked killer. This brings new and old characters back to Woodsboro to attempt to survive and unmask the killer. So things I liked about the movie, cast, the legacy cast are as good as ever. The newcomers hold their own really well. Jenna Ortega is the standout of them. She has the only opening in the series that, in my opinion, is on par or almost with the original. Cinematography. The film's really well shot. The camera helps build tension in scenes with dark coats and objects in the frame catching your eye as you try and find Ghostface. It also corrects the fourth entry's awful misstep of using the hazy filter. I found reports that it was actually used because many horror remakes of that time didn't look that good and used a similar edit. And while I respect that that's the reason, and I'm like, okay, I get it, I think that at that point, if being meta makes your movie look bad, then maybe don't do it. Story, as expected in every Scream film, the story is engaging and well developed. It adds new mechanics such as smart home technology and smart locks into the kills, as well as a new topic for its meta satire. It tackles the horror requels, reboot sequels of the current era, as well as elevated horror films such as Babadook and Hereditary that trade traditional ghosts and slashers for metaphors of trauma and other things like that. The movie is executed excellently, and wherever a Scream fan ranks it among the rest, I think it is a worthy entry that also pays its respect to Wes Craven really well. The only thing I can think of that I disliked was I wish Jenna Ortega was the new cast protagonist instead of Melissa Barrera from In the Heights. She does fine, but her acting in the film is one-dimensional compared to Ortega. Number 6, Elvis. This is directed by Baz Luhrmann, the director of Moulin Rouge and The Great Gatsby. It's also written by him and Jeremy Donner. This movie displays the rise of Elvis Presley through the lens of his manager, the Colonel, Tom Parker, covering the triumphs and pitfalls of his expansive career. So things that I liked about this movie. Cast. Austin Butler is perfect as Elvis. He looks the part and can sing well, so that all helps. The rest of the cast also does a really good job, I think. The movie uses a lot of Elvis's catalog excellently throughout the movie as it goes through different periods in his life and career. The set, costume, hair, everything is designed exceptionally well for the various time periods he lived through. This makes for a very immersive film, and the design goes a long way. If you saw my Elvis review, only thing I disliked about the movie really was Tom Hanks. I like him a lot as an actor, but his performance as the Colonel feels like he got the job while watching Daniel Craig in Knives Out and said, that looks fun, but he ordered the European accent guide on accident, but still tried to give it some Southern hospitality. Number 5, this one is actually 2 films, but for reasons I'll get into, I'm putting them in the same spot as one thing. X and Pearl, both directed by Ty West and written by Ty West. Pretty much all production was really, I believe he even edited the film himself. X follows a group of friends staying on a farm in Texas to film porn. When their hosts discover the activities, things escalate very quickly. Pearl is a prequel to X that is set in the early 1900s and shows Pearl's youth and acts like an origin story to one of the characters from X. There's actually a third film that is a sequel to X and is expected to come very soon called Maxine. I believe it's in post-production, which is really impressive for 3 movies and 2 of them having come out within like 6 months of each other, and a third one coming out possibly within a year of the first. And to so far 2 out of the 3 released being incredibly well received. Things I liked in these films: cast is incredible, from Jenna Ortega's Scream Queen performance, Brittany Snow and Kid Cudi as the very confident porn stars, and most of all Mia Goth as Maxine and Pearl. In X, she actually does dual roles. One is Maxine and one as the geriatric Pearl, with a lot of prosthetics. She plays both really well, and she actually returns in Pearl as the young Pearl, and again, just standout performance. Kid Cudi and Brittany Snow have a very sweet scene where they sing Landslide by Fleetwood Mac while Pearl is lamenting her youth, and that's a really good scene. Cinematography. X is shot like an old 70s horror movie. Think of Texas Chainsaw. The opening shot made me really happy because it opened from the barn doors to change aspect ratios, almost like you're entering the world. Pearl is also shot like films of its era, with very Wizard of Oz era coloring, Technicolor, lighting and effects, even down to the title card. Each of these 2 films feels like it was actually produced in the era it's taking place, which is really cool. Just creativity alone. The kills in both films are very creative and nuanced in their significance to the story, and I really can't say more in that regard, though, without spoilers. Number 4, we have Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery. It is written and directed by Ryan Johnson. It is a sequel to 2019's Knives Out. Daniel Craig is the only returning cast member as Detective Benoit Blanc, as he sets out on another mysterious case filled with deceit and especially murder. I really like the cast. I can't name everyone without this video being super long. They all bring their A game, and each character is so unique from the rest. With the ensemble, every scene is just a joy to watch, seeing them all mix and match the characters in different settings. The cast is just made of incredible talent, and it really shows. I like the writing a lot. The movie's very smart. It's funny. It has layers to it, much like The Onion in the title. And a lot like its predecessor, Glass Onion meets the expectations the first created, and in some ways even surpassed a few of them. There are scenes that can make you laugh and then immediately feel tense seconds later. Lastly, the plot. Just like Knives Out, this movie is rather complex in its narrative and how everything unfolds. It takes some risks the predecessor did not, and for the most part, these moments pay off in excess. The only thing I can think about in this movie that I didn't like was not enough Blanc. There will never be enough screen time for Daniel Craig's southern drawl speaking Benoit Blanc. The first scene with him in this movie is one of the funniest of the film. So before we do the top 3, I just want to give a few honorable mentions that were on the list. These were just outside the top 10. So we have The Unbearable Way of Massive Talent. I really like this movie. Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage is great. The Fallout, a movie about the survivors of a school shooting starring Jenna Ortega, is really good. I saw it on HBO Max. It's really sad though, as well, of course, because of the subject. The Northman by Robert Eggers, I really enjoyed. It's very out there at times with some of its Viking lore and visuals in a good way. At times, there's some of the action even feels almost like The Revenant in a way. And Matilda the Musical, I really enjoyed. I watched that just after Christmas. I'd never seen the original. I now have, and I think they both have a lot of good things about them. And so if you like the original and like musicals, I think this is a perfect match. The top 3. These are the 3 best films, in my opinion, that came out in 2022 that I saw. So number 3, Nope, directed and written by Jordan Peele, is third time directing. After witnessing something moving in the sky, the Haywood siblings worked together to capture it on film. However, this proves much more difficult than expected. So of the countless things I liked about this movie, the cast. Daniel Kaluuya is stoic in the role, and it plays off his over-the-top sister's charisma excellently, who is played by Keke Palmer. They have very good sibling chemistry, and it makes you root for them throughout the movie. The rest of the cast are great as well, all with their own motivations and desires that bring them into the story organically rather than feeling forced. The movie's gorgeous overall, and there are very many shots that to describe would spoil details. So what I'll focus on is the night cinematography. DP Hoyt van Hoytema, his role in the film is irreplaceable. He basically invented a new technique to shoot day for night using a 3D camera rig, but one camera is just a standard camera and the other is infrared. So you get the lighting and color from the infrared for a more natural nighttime look with detail and texture you get from the standard camera. If not told, you would never expect this movie was shot in the daytime almost exclusively. Other projects have tried day for night and they usually barely manage to be passable. The plot is very gripping and hard to look away from throughout the runtime of the blockbuster, but this movie feels like the modern Jaws, really. It doesn't just redo the monster movie blockbuster, but it builds on it. You get incredible action set pieces with a deep and meaningful story to back it up. Themes such as spectacle, trauma, control, etc. are beautifully elaborated upon in this movie. It also uses multiple scenarios to see when is the risk not worth capturing spectacle, or does that point even exist? Number 2, Top Gun Maverick. This movie is insane. It is directed by Joseph Kosinski, written by Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren Singer, and Christopher McQuarrie. I believe Chris McQuarrie is the director of the more recent Mission Impossible films. Decades since the original Top Gun, Maverick brings the main character back to Top Gun, where he must now prepare some of the best pilots for a mission, unlike any seen in the Navy's history. This is even more difficult as one of the pilots under his watch is Rooster, the son of his wingman from the original film Goose. A lot of the tension on the ground comes from their relationship. Cruise is just as cocky in the roles he was back in '86. The rest of the cast, they step up in their roles, especially considering the intense filming conditions. Miles Teller, he really felt like Goose's son and did very well. Val Kilmer had a really limited role in the movie due to his health, but the screen time he had was powerful and super significant to the direction of the movie. The fact that they fit 6 IMAX cameras into the jets to capture aerial footage with the real actors in cockpits is enough to make this a must watch. CGI just cannot touch the feeling when you know they're really rolling through the sky at those speeds and are really going through all the maneuvers you're seeing. Of course, CGI is used for missiles and such, but it does not dilute the movie at all. Seeing Miles Teller hit his head on the cockpit because his seatbelt wasn't tight enough was a funny moment that just happened while they were filming, and that would not have happened on a soundstage with a green screen. And so there are little moments that you just don't get unless you do it practically. Plot and action. I put these together because the action sequences, even during just flight training, are very intense and gripping to watch. They quickly set the mood that this mission is not one where making it home is a guarantee. The conflict between Maverick and Rooster feels grounded and makes the past film's events very central. On top of that is Maverick's very strong feeling of guilt over recent events in the past film. And in case you haven't seen that, I don't want to spoil, but these are things that bring the narrative of Top Gun Maverick to the next level. So number one, the best movie of 2022, in my opinion, that I cannot praise enough. Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is directed by the Daniels, aka Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shiner. They wrote and directed it, and you may know them for directing the music video Turn Down for What, or the film Swiss Army Man. Follows a Chinese-American immigrant who, during an audit by the IRS, learns she must connect with versions of herself from parallel universes to save the multiverse. So things I liked about this movie, the cast. The supporting cast is incredible. From Jamie Lee Curtis as the IRS agent to Harry Shum Jr. as a chef with a secret I can't get into. They're great. The stars of this movie, however, are Michelle Yeoh, who is an excellent audience surrogate, Stephanie Sue, who plays the teenage daughter and shares some of the film's most emotionally charged scenes with Yeoh, who plays her mom. The film also marks a return to the big screen for Ke Huy Quan in his biggest role in over 20 years since The Goonies. He brings so much humor, heart, and talent to this film. The design of this movie, from fight choreography that uses very uncommon weapons to unique character and universe design, making all multiverse projects seem underwhelming. Doctor Strange 2 spent time in mainly 2 universes with a 30-second montage of other locations, whereas this film covers countless versions that all have a place in the movie with key development related to the plot, on top of being visually arresting the entire time. The themes this movie covers, most notably nihilism to the meaning of family, love, life, etc., are all powerful themes and questions that are conveyed in numerous ways, from an emotional conversation that had me sobbing to a beautiful shot of inanimate objects silently speaking through subtitles. I can't really say how strong it is for Asian representation, but this movie does seem to show the tension that can occur between someone who has immigrated and their family who visits from overseas. The grandfather is very conservative and old-fashioned in comparison to Joy, the teen daughter, who is far more in tune with American culture. Lastly, the film handles nonlinear storytelling masterfully, not only covering independent universes and their stories, but at times even having characters speaking to other characters across the universes, which is just so complex and done so well here. So those are the 10 best movies, in my opinion, that came out in 2022. And I also made a list of the 10 worst movies to come out in 2022, but I don't think it's right for me to cover both of those. So I have a guest who decided they wanted to show up, surprise show up really. Please welcome Drunk Ethan.
Hey guys, Ethan here in the future. I had some issues on the export, so you get to listen to me narrate the video. I don't have time to re-record the video, but I had time to re-record the audio. Don't ask too many questions. It'll make sense. Sorry if my voice sounds a little weird. I cut up my throat eating way too many potato chips recording this, and so I've had a few throat lozenges, but as you can see in the video, I'm doing rough. So first movie, we're going through the top 10 worst movies of the year for me. This first one is Thor: Love and Thunder. This shit was garbage. You know, I would fuck up the MCU on a regular basis, but my man, imagine, you know, putting out a movie in modern times where you underuse Christian Bale. That, look at him, even in the poster, he's underused. He looks like a moon. Okay, Thor rides his axe like the Wicked Witch of the West and goes like he's looking for Dorothy. Jane Foster is cringe as fuck. And basically, while She-Hulk came out a little bit before this, you might have your issues with that. At the very least, She-Hulk had her own identity separate from the Hulk, if you actually watched it. Whereas Jane Foster here, they can call her the Mighty Thor. She is literally Lady Thor, and only exists for Thor to go like, wait, you're me. Also, there's screaming goats, but apparently I'm done talking about that movie. We're talking about... Okay, so clearly I was brain dead making this list because no self-functioning human would put Black Phone in their bottom 10 movies of the entire year. When Day Shift came out, that fucking Me Time movie with Kevin Hart and Hate Crime Andy, Good Vibrations, dude, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Okay, Ethan Hawke does not do bad movies. Ethan Hawke in Glass Onion, great. Ethan Hawke in Black Phone, great. Ethan Hawke, I don't know what else he might be in, but if he is in anything, I'm sure he's also great in that. The only issue I have with this movie, if I'm being honest with you, is it didn't leave me full, okay? No, stop. You're going so fast. The issue with Black Phone is that it did everything it did perfectly, but it didn't set its sights far enough. It should have aimed like it could have aimed 10 more miles downfield and still nailed the target. But unfortunately, it seems like they were a little bit worried, or they didn't have that long of a story. I know it's based on a short story. It's based on a little book, but like, I don't know, write a sequel or something, throw in some original ideas. But it just it didn't leave me full. It almost felt like I just got a nice appetizer and they said, all right, restaurant's closing, bucko. Anyway, moving on to Orphan First Kill. Orphan First Kill is a movie that nobody saw, including myself, which is why I put it at number 8 on this list, as in, I don't know what I would rate, so it gets an 8. I can't imagine anybody going, wow, you know that movie from 12 years ago? So, Hellraiser, number 7. Hellraiser. This is a movie that apparently came out this year on October 7th on Hulu. Hulu usually drops, all bangers. Is that the Mayan calendar behind the, what is it, Pinhead? What a stupid name. What a stupid name. What a weird franchise to bring back. I wouldn't even say it's a cult classic. I think that's doing the originals too much of a service. I don't think most people are even aware of its existence. But yeah, so this is a movie. It is a movie, and it is, what are we, number 7? God, I really am admiring this chip. Just eat it. Eat it! Me? Did I just rub it on my Black Adam. Holy fuck. This movie is awful. I watched it 4 times. The first 2 times I used it to go to bed. The following 2 times, the third time I hated it, and then I found out some people liked it. So I watched it a 4th time just to be sure, and I hated it more. There is a very core character in this movie. He gets the most screen time, probably top 3. And his entire personality is that he rides a skateboard. There's a scene where he's running downstairs, and as you know, when you're going down a staircase, there's that little flat area before more stairs. He will run down the stairs, skateboard for 6 inches, then pick up the skateboard and continue running from the bad guys down the stairs as if that's faster. There's also a stealth skateboard scene. Also, they copy that Quicksilver scene from X-Men Days of Future Past, I think it was. I don't remember which one it was, but the Quicksilver scene. You know the one that everyone has to copy. And of course they do it worse. Of course they do it worse. The Rock is about as one-dimensional a character as a stone. About as one-dimensional a character as the hole in my shirt that you can see throughout this entire video. Holy shit. I know it's fun to hate on The Rock, but he deserves it for this movie. And bringing in Kal-El, Superman at the end, oh my god. This movie is a travesty. I think Black Adam is actually the worst. I was definitely drunk making this list. They, them. I, Ethan, clearly hate pronouns. Why could Kevin Bacon, an individual, be labeled as a they or a them? He's one person. They and them is plural. This makes no sense. I'm going to have to call Ben Shapiro after this episode to get to the bottom of this. I will say it was a little weird at the end of the movie when Kevin Bacon appeared in that Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special out of nowhere. That was pretty cool. I thought Groot was quite fuckable, quite supple, quite nubile. That was pretty neat. But other than that, this is a Peacock original, meaning I can say whatever I want and none of you will know. None of you saw this movie. You don't care. It would be insane if you saw this movie. Why is there a pile of blankets promiscuously behind my chair? I don't know. 2 feet from the bed. Now I'm just critiquing myself. Okay? But honestly, why is the they, them segment getting an hour? Can we move along, old Ethan? Bro is rubbing his face. Stop picking at your nose, me. What? There was a chip the whole time? Stop farming these chips. Eat them or put them down. Next movie is Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't actually see Jeepers Creepers Reborn, so I'm just going to talk about the movie Day Shift featuring Snoop Dogg and Jamie Foxx, where they are well-known vampire hunters in LA. That's right, it's R.I.P.D., but with vampires and, weirdly enough, gang ties. That's right. At the end of the movie, Snoop Dogg, believe it or not, creates a crypt bomb to kill a bunch of vampires. And then later in the movie, after he clearly died from the crypt bomb, crawls out of the sewer, throws up the fucking classic Crip gang sign, pulls out a blue bandana out of thin air, and says, "That's why I love LA, man, because of the vampires." That movie's crazy. If you want to see a bad movie, don't watch Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Watch Day Shift. That's a fun, horrible movie that had no right to exist. It has some like malignant fight scenes, which is pretty baller. But other than that, it's R.I.P.D. but with vampires. So it's at this point that after rating 7 of the movies, I decide to actually put some effort into my camera while also doing my best impression of a vampire from the movie Day Shift. Yeah, here I'm basically losing all sense of respect for myself as I reach deep into the fucking sun. My God, what is this lighting? Yeah, less lighting is better. It also improves the frame rate, old me, but I assume you know that because I know what you know. We learn together. I have a large book, just one book, on my entertainment center so you can know that I'm intelligent, and it is Stephen King's It. Next up, Don't Worry, Darling. As in, don't worry, darling, we don't have to watch this movie because Ethan says it's dog shit. Misa says that. Ooh, Misa, it bad. This movie, not good. Florence Pugh, more like Florence P.U. Harry Styles, more like, I can't hate. Harry Styles, kind of a cutie. Olivia Wilde, yeah, she is. Jim, I can't read that name. Kiki Lane, 2 keys, 1 name. Nick Kroll, oh, big mouth guy. And Chris Pine from Wonder Woman 84. He was pretty good in that movie. He was pretty cool. It's kind of questionable, the ethics of it. But anyways, Don't Worry, Darling is a movie about, I think, religion and Mormonism, keeping women down. And it uses it as a metaphor for the ideological bubble keeping women in and allowing the men to, I don't know. I just saw the trailer once and I went, this shit look kind of good. And then I saw the Rotten Tomatoes once and I went, never mind. Yeah, here I am. I'm going to dance with this chip. Hopefully I eat it though. Ooh. Is that a fingernail on my shirt? Everyone look 45 degrees southeast of the hole. I believe that's a fingernail. Jurassic World Dominion. What if we made a Jurassic Park movie, but without the dinosaurs? What if we brought back all the classic cast and the new cast together, and they just talked about the ethics of cloning for about 2.5 hours? The epic conclusion of the Jurassic era. This is how we ended it. And also, it doesn't conclude. It just ends with dinosaurs B. Bro, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Anyway, End Cinemas June 10th. Listen, imagine releasing a movie on Juneteenth. This movie has committed hate crimes, both real and figurative, okay? I didn't actually watch this movie, but I watched a bunch of people on the internet tell me it's bad, so I know it's bad, okay? I don't need to form my own opinions. What I need to do is get a new goddamn shirt. Number 1, it's Morbin time, baby. Listen, I thought it was really crazy when Jared Leto called Batman the N-word. I really wish he hadn't done that. That was kind of crazy. I really wish, he didn't have to use this character as a metaphor for capitalism, but he just did. He went, guys, what if a vampire was really the U.S. economic system? And that's what he did, and he leaned into it. And, I thought the worst thing he ever did was sending dead rats to his coworkers on the set of Suicide Squad. But no, the worst thing Jared Leto's ever done is existing, unfortunately for us. I think at the end of Morbin time here, Vulture from Spider-Man shows up. I don't know what that's about. I didn't know Spider-Man was a vampire, but apparently that's canon now. I thought Tom Holland was just some British kid doing a fake American accent. So that's kind of crazy. But my point is, this movie is god awful. You know this, I know that. It's so bad they made it twice. So anyways, guys, I'll be seeing you later. I hope you enjoyed my list of 10 worst movies of 2022 to definitely not watch. I'm going to devour these chips. I'm going to rub on my throat cream. And holy God, next time I am not going to eat a whole bag of potato skins during filming. Thank you. Have a very good day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Share your opinions down below. If you agree, if you disagree, what do you think? What was your top 10 best worst? Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed, comment what you thought about it, and subscribe if you're not. That way you don't miss when I infrequently upload, probably in a year. As always, in the description, you can find my Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that. I will also link my Letterboxd if you want to keep up with my reviews of movies throughout the year. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon.